What's up, everybody? This is Rabid Hedgehog. I want to give a shout out to our sponsors, Law Tigers of Oklahoma, AGVSportUSA, and AMSOIL. We want to thank them for helping us provide funds for gear, equipment, and everything to help film what we do, and also keeping our bikes protected and the riders protected. Check out the description below for contact details. What's up, everybody? This is the Rabid Hedgehog, and I wanted to introduce you all and a ride and review of my own personal 2023 Indian Chief Dark Horse. Now, this one we took in as a used unit, had like 360 miles on it, and, well, it was new. It came with that sissy bar and that back rack. Had a stock seat on it, stock handlebars and everything, but as you can see, I've kind of changed it. We have the 10-inch mini apes, the 1920 seat. Also have added the drive lights on the front of it. As well as heated grips, which makes it all sorts of nice to ride. Now you're wondering, what on earth, Rabid Hedgehog? I thought you loved your FTR. Well, I did. I did love the FTR. I still love the FTR. The FTR is a fantastic motorcycle. But, to be real, it isn't as practical of a motorcycle as I would hope it to be. It is a great commuter. But here's the thing. I have a Royal Enfield 350 Meteor that is a great commuter. I have a Moto Guzzi V85 TT, which is an amazing long-range commuter. Bigger gas tank, can go almost, close to 300 miles on a tank of gas. So I had kind of two motorcycles that literally fit the bill of the FTR. It was a standard riding position that was comfortable, and the V85 is a standard riding position that's comfortable. But the FTR didn't have the luggage, and the V85 does. And then there's the great commuter with the little Royal Enfield that can actually get almost 200 miles on a tank of gas. And the FTR can make it to about 130 or so, maybe 142 was the maximum I ever saw. And that was pushing it because 3.4 gallon gas tank, and I was putting in 3.2 gallons at that time. So I was right there at bingo fuel and could have ran out at the wrong time. So split the difference, basically having two different motorcycles that fit the bill of the FTR, and needed one to split the difference between those two. So you have standard riding positions, and now you have cruiser riding position. But then I found out that I am more apt to feeling like I want to sit on the motorcycle versus sit down in the motorcycle like a stock Chief. And if you'll notice on this floating seat with this cutoff, the seat sits right through here, so you sit down quite a bit further and into the motorcycle, and it has drag bars normally, so you're down kind of folded with the mid-mounts. And after a few years of having standard riding positions, I have grown accustomed to loving that riding position a lot more than the standard cruiser getting down and dirty inside the motorcycle. I would rather be sitting on the motorcycle. Therefore, the floating seat, which, I mean, you cannot argue with the results. The thing looks freaking cool. Another part to this, too, is that the FTR doesn't have that much luggage. And as you can see there, I have luggage. Now, granted, that is about as much luggage as the FTR can handle on both the back rack and the messenger bag. It's a little bit more than the messenger bag by itself. Not quite as much as both combined, but I also have a touring bag, which is like 4 times the size of that thing, that sits right there, uses the same straps on the sissy bar, just Velcros on. In fact, this one can dock to it. There's straps all the way down there. It's called the Spirit Lake Collection, and you can literally, you got so many tie downs and stuff that you can literally dock this stuff together, and I can carry quite a bit of stuff on this one motorcycle. In fact, I can carry over a week's worth of clothes just in the one bag alone, add that guy, you know, I've got quite a bit more luggage. I have a place to store my helmet if I'm riding with the other bag. I have a place to put my coat and my gloves and my helmet all in one spot with stuff on top of it, because those little guys split in half. I mean, it's kind of cool. You can kind of see this here whenever you use it. This is exactly the same as the other one, so you just pop this guy open, and the other one does the same thing. It splits in half, and then if you open the top of it, you can actually, I've got a little hat in there right now, but you can open this pass-through on the other one too. You have that huge, deep pocket thing in there. And it's just so much more convenient than the FTR was by every stretch of the imagination. You're also carrying a 3.9-ish gallon gas tank, almost 4 gallons. So you're getting quite a bit better range. FTR, like I said, 142, I think, was the maximum I ever got on a fuel tank. And that was literally it. That's as much as it could go on usable fuel. And this one is not turning its light on yet at the same mileage. So you have, you know, longer fuel range with a slightly bigger tank and actually slightly better fuel mileage as well. So that's why the Chief. The changes of the Chief was, like I said, it's because I didn't really feel like sitting in the motorcycle anymore. So I brought the bars up. The drag bars literally are way down here. And whenever you're sitting on it with a stock seat, you're hunched over and kind of folded up. And I've done that one time. It was the night ride. I don't want to relive that moment again. So I stood it up in 2 different directions. And man, like I said, I can't. The look of it, it's getting there. I'm still got some stuff to do. I kind of understand now the whole idea of a motorcycle not so perfect out of the box, you know, but I also would rather a motorcycle be perfect out of the box. But this is just something that became a passion project of mine because I love motorcycles. I wanted one that literally fit my persona, who I am. Of course, the Chief is a blank canvas in the Dark Horse model, and of course you can get the regular Chief with the chrome and everything, but I prefer the blacked out look, always have, when it comes to motorcycles. But man, I just have to say the setup is freaking perfect. Like I said, I can just unvelcro that, slide it off and ride without one, or put my bigger one on there, or put my little day bag on there. It's just perfect to run around with. So it literally is the fine balance between a quick commuter or a mid-range tourer. And then, of course, like I said, the V85 can go the long range if I need to, because it's got the 2 panniers and a top case. And heck, I can even put that little guy inside one of the panniers, you know, and carry it around. And that way I don't have to worry about taking off a bag. So it's kind of cool where I'm at. Now, here's some things that I definitely wish would change. This is the coolest looking seat in the world, but let me tell you, the parts and accessories guys were sitting there on a rock one day and said, what could we do for a motorcycle that looks amazingly cool, you know, old school and all that? Somebody's like, you know what, we should do a tractor seat. But you know what we should do? We should make it harder than this rock we're sitting on right now, thinking about this. And Chuck was like, I got you, buddy. And sure enough, here it is. This thing has 0 give in it or anything like that. Granted, versus the stock Scout Bobber seat, which this came on the Scout 20, or Scout Bobber 20 first, you know, this seat is better than that seat to me, because I can't make it more than 20 minutes on that seat. This one is hard, yeah, but because it's so wide and flat and contoured, you can kind of move around, and because you can move around so easily on it, it allows you to keep your legs awake and your butt awake and everything like that when you're riding. So, you know, you have a little bit of advantage there, but man, I want it to look cool and be as cushiony. I'm very spoiled when it comes to seating position, because I think the Moto Guzzi V85 TT definitely has probably one of the most comfortable seats on the market, just straight out of the box. And Man, going from that to this kind of disappoints you all of a sudden. But if you're going from the Scout Bobber seat, which, I was more of a cruiser guy a few years ago and did all that quite frequently, it ended up that that's why I like that one so much better. Now I can definitely feel the difference, and my gosh, I would rather have a little bit more comfort, so I am actually seeking out an upholsterer to possibly take a look at changing some stuff in that. That way they can use the seat pan down here and change some of that up. I don't care if it raises me up a little bit. I've got plenty of leg room. I mean, when I sit on it, you can see I've got a heavy bend to my leg, and I'm already on the ground. Sure, I'm on the side stand, but take it off the side stand, it's barely any different. So I'm already low enough to the ground that it's not going to make no difference if I add a couple inches here and there for comfort and make this thing perfect. Kept the mid-mounts. I used to not understand the mid-mounts with the Mini Apes, and because of getting used to the straight down position, as you can see when I'm on the pegs itself. Let me move my giant foot out of the way, and you can kind of see how I have to tuck in here to make that work. Either kick my foot out or tuck it in under the brake there, or same with the shifter over there. But straight down from the knee to the ankle there, and then straight up to the hip, straight up, straight out, basically. So kind of made it more of a standard position where I like it. When I was riding it before, like I said, I was kind of hunched over to reach those drag bars, and I'm 37 years old. I'm getting to the point of I want practical, but I'm still young enough where I can handle some of the abuse from the seat, and well, I just went ahead and went for the looks, basically. Let's turn on the 4-inch ride command here. Start powering this motorcycle up. This one is all Indian here. You have your power button to start it up. There's no ignition key or anything on this one. It is keyless. Engine cutoff switch, cruise control. You have a paddle on the back side over here that accepts through the menus over here. This one flips through your screens on the left-hand pedal, horn, brights, flash to pass, turn signals. Audio control, you can hook up your Bluetooth devices to this. You can have your comm system and your music all together. There's actually a USB tucked on this side too, where you can plug some stuff in and listen to music if you have a stick or something. And it's like I said, it's just below the tank there, and that wiring harness kind of tucked away in there. And you have this paddle here that also you can flip over your gauge. And I prefer the other one that has the gear indication, current direction, temperature, odometer. Like I said, this one was only turned in with like 330 miles. I'm at 1439, so got about 1,100 miles on her already. This is the month anniversary of me getting this motorcycle. I got it on July 14th, and here we are, August 14th, and it's got 1,100 miles on it already. So definitely like it. Definitely like riding it for sure. Like I said, that left trigger, you can flip through your screen so you can get your economy data, current outside temperature, range, fuel gauges on that side, live impage, your economy, and all that good stuff. And then you have your ride current conditions and all that. You have 2 trip odometers. It is glove sensitive. There we go. And you just kind of tap that over and get your regular odometer as well. I think it's neat how you have like where you've ridden from, how long you've been riding, elevation changes, all that good stuff. It does have navigation fully on it. If you click on these buttons here, you can actually add different layers in there. As long as you have the subscription, it's about $100 and $120 a year or so. And it comes free when you first get it for like a year. You can get live traffic and weather. If you want to use the floppy paddles, you can just press in on it, and that way you can get into your searches. You can go through your different spots. You can go through your menus here, and you can select it all through here. Restaurants, for instance, let's just do landmarks or something. And once you get in there, I'm doing this all with that left up and down right there. This little joystick doesn't have anything to do with it. One thing I'll have to say is this thing takes a little bit of time to load. Once it gets loading, it's pretty snappy, but it's pretty slow to load at first. I will say that. And I wish they could pick it up a little bit and make it a little bit snappier and intuitive. So you can see we do have some, I don't know and I don't care. I like that little truck there. Have some little restaurants and stuff like that through here. So you can go through and do that. Of course, you can back it up with your left stick again, and then you're back to your navigation. If you have your Bluetooth connected, you can do all that right through there, and then back to your main screen. So like I said, this is your mute. If you have it all going, volume, and so you can scan your stuff on it. Go ahead and just activate this bad boy here. Dark horses, of course, have the 116 on board. So it is not the 111. It's almost 1900 cc. So this engine is literally as big in one cylinder, actually bigger in one cylinder. Almost, I guess. I guess it is almost, because it's almost 1900 cc, but the V85 is 853 cc. So, well, I guess it is bigger, because it'd be like 17. So, yeah, this thing is a big engine nonetheless. There's not too many motorcycle engines this big. You know, you start getting into car engine territory. Of course, it's a big, throaty V-twin engine. Makes a monstrous amount of torque, about 126 foot-pounds of torque in some applications. I believe this application's around 121 or so, but it's plenty. The motorcycle weighs around 690 pounds. So, to be real, with that much torque, it doesn't realize there's a motorcycle or me on it. It just laughs it off, basically. To be real, the Chief is the Dyna that every Harley rider in the world wanted. 3 inches of suspension travel in the rear, 4.7 in the front. Powerful muscle type engine in the middle there, you know, because the Dyna was essentially taking a Sportster front end and putting it on a bigger chassis, and well, this is essentially doing that, but you know, kind of like that muscle car era. You're taking a giant engine and putting it in a mid-size, and that's all that was, and that's all this is too. But this thing just lugs around effortlessly. There is so much torque off the bottom end of it. Red line is right at 5. I mean, it does not really rotate that much at all. So even if you get it squared away and moving up and down, man, it is not gonna rev that much. Whereas the FTR and the Scout can climb into the 9 range almost and scream its way to power with more rev. This one is definitely not about horsepower. It's about that low end torque. Horsepower figures are, you know, dime a dozen. You can look it up, and some will say it's got about 100 horsepower. Some will say 92, depending on your source. So definitely not much horsepower, but remember, torque gets you there, horsepower pushes you through if you smash a wall. So this thing will kill you if you smash into a wall pretty dang easily, so don't even worry about that. Plus, you can't use as much power as it's got. It's limited at 111 miles an hour, like most of your Indians with this engine combination. And this buddy can get there in a hurry and then just stay there all day long with barely any revolution. But maximum speed most of the way in the United States is going to be only 80, so you don't have anything to worry about there. You're going plenty fast wherever you're going, and on our traveling roads here where you have speed limits 55 to 70 most of the way, we're at 55 miles an hour in 6th gear, and we're literally looking at 2,000 RPM. This thing is not rotating whatsoever. It just goes very cleanly, I might add. The Thunderstroke has its power band, and it just likes to be in that low revving area and pulling itself right along. It's got, like I said, all that torque where it could restart the earth with a couple of you and your friends if it stops rotating, doing a burnout. We'd be definitely glad to help you guys out if this world stops turning for a second, as long as gravity holds on for a moment while we do it to restart. We'll get you there. Cruise control over here, you push it in, press it to the left to set it. You'll have a green plus your orange there that says it's actually set. You do have like a failure indication that your fob is not detecting. You have a chassis fault indication, engine light, fuel, turn signals, neutral indication, and ABS light and stuff on the dial there. So it's full featured on everything that you've got. What's cool is that whenever you need a charge, it has a built-in charge port. It's on the lower left-hand side, just under the frame rail, and it has a little Allen wrench next to it, so you can remove the seat if you need to. In transit, it doesn't have any other tools or anything else connected to it, just that one Allen wrench and your charge port right next door to it. So, yeah, kind of handy. But let me tell you something, I love the way this thing rides. As a stock motorcycle, I bought it and immediately started working on it. When I did my review of it before, and I did a Chief with the drag bars and everything, I liked it quite a bit then. But like I said, after a few years of running around, being on a standard bike for a long time in many miles, my FTR had just shy of 10,000 on its trade-in mark, a little over 2 years old. The V85 is a year old with 6,000 miles now. I was trying to think if it was 59 or 6. It's right at 6 now. And you know, so, and also the Royal Enfield, I got it in December, and that one only had 800 miles on it when I got it. It's at 29, I think, or something like that. So I've been putting a lot of miles on more standard seating positions. That when I got on this one and I felt that weird sitting inside the motorcycle, bent forward, hands in the air kind of thing, or fist in the wind, I should say, I was like, you know what? I'm not as much of a fan of that anymore. And so I literally set about changing seats. I went to a Super Chief style seat first, and that didn't really work out, both the stock seat and the Super Chief seat. For some deranged reason, there's this plastic trim bit here, and the way it sits on there, the crotch of my pants was literally getting stuck in it. That's kind of an annoyance. So I decided that I needed something a little bit better, and I've always loved the look of the 1920 seat. So I went after that, and my cousin and everybody's making fun of me for it because of how hard it is. I get it, I really do. But I mean, it works great for the aesthetic, great for the ride. It does really good right now. Like I said, it's not as bad as one would think, because you can move around a little bit more. There's no pressure points because you're not so stuck in a squishy seat that it's pinching off, you know, your thigh or something like that between it and the bike. And as you move, you don't really sit correctly, or you sit back down in the same pressure point or hot spot, and you know, it's just like, okay, this is not as cool, because you can have overly soft too. So you can move around just enough and wake yourself up pretty quickly, and heck, in the configuration that I'm in right now, I could even stand up on the pegs like you do a dual sport and you know, shake off, and that helps out quite a bit in a ride, no matter how locked in you are. So literally I can just stand right up, straight up, you know, no problem. And that's kind of what I did. I literally built this thing into be more of a standard riding position, so I could get away with some of those standard riding maneuvers that I'm used to. And accomplished. And Like I said, if I can change the seat ever so slightly, that's about the only complaint that I have now in terms of rider comfort. But in the stock formation, I don't think I would last as long on the road as I do on this one. Right now, I have actually, you know, in this 1,000 or 1,100 miles, wherever I'm at on this thing, 1,100, I have literally, you know, had this seat on probably the most. And when I was on the stock seat, I got about 40 minutes and I needed to take a break because I'm so cramped on it. I'm 6 foot tall, 32-inch inseam, about 209 pounds. So when I'm sitting on this motorcycle in its stock configuration, because you're so much closer to the peg down there, your legs do come slightly up from your hip and back down to the pegs, and that actually is far more uncomfortable to me because I've got that pinch point and a hot spot in the seat that feel awful, like I said, in about 40 minutes to an hour. And that's something I didn't note before because, you know, I had about a 20-minute ride. So when you have a full-fledged ride on it, you have multiple miles in the saddle, then you start to feel a little bit more of what could happen. And after the change, I've had a roughly 4-hour straight ride on this thing, and I'm even on this hard seat. Like I said, all I did was shift a little bit every once in a while, stand up a couple times, shake it off, and I was good to go. So anyway, I think that's something that India needs to do on both the Chief and the seat here is make a seat that works a little bit more comfortably. I need them to kind of bring that seat up from being so low and into the bike right on the frame rail to a little bit higher. I know they're trying to maximize the lower seat height thing. You know, people are going to automatically go from like the Scout to this one here, and let's be real, that's a great transition because you get a lot different power out of this one. You get a lot different ride out of this one even, because the Scout's a little bit more rev happy, definitely higher top end, and lighter. This is a heavy, holds the road waiting motorcycle, and does very good on those mid-range tours. And you know, the Scout could do it for the right people. It's a little too narrow for me, a little bit too short for me. Even with extended reach options applied to it, it is a little bit, you know, less able to do mid-range than this one for sure. So if people are looking to move up, this is definitely going to be where they're looking toward, and that's why I think Indian went with the low seat height that went with, and the way it's set up the way it is. When in reality, I think they can do better. I think they could bring that seat up just a little bit more, because there's a secondary problem to the seat being as low as it is, and that is that exhaust right there. If you're shorter, let's say you have about a 26 inch inseam, like my friend, my wife, my cousin's wife, a few others, my niece even, they're all about the same size. They're about 5'3", 5'2", somewhere in there, shorter. They all, when sitting upright trying to straddle the motorcycle, their right leg is on the exhaust. And even with the big heat shields on there, I am sorry to say, but you are going to feel a little cookie after a long ride with your leg up against it. So I would say narrow that exhaust up on that side, raise that seat up a little bit too, because it'll help that leg clear over a little bit. I mean, it's not that they're not flat-footed. They are flat-footed. It's just that they're hitting stuff. So maybe in the long run that seat will work great as a reduced reach option, but for folks that are, you know, approaching 6 foot tall or more, you know, even up let's say 5'10" through 6'3", we would rather the seat be about the position where the floating 1920 seat is in conjecture to the motorcycle, and that way we're further up off of that and we're not needing to do the forward mounts or anything like that. I don't mind forward mounted controls, and that's something where you can alleviate some of that by buying some highway bars and adding some highway pegs on there. But you know, it shouldn't have to cost an arm and a leg every 5 minutes to make the motorcycle right. And that is kind of something I've always believed in. I want the motorcycle to be mostly right, so that if I don't want to mess with it, I don't have to. But if I want to mess with it, I can. And this one, I definitely had to mess with it to get it into this position that I like today versus the stock. I mean, does it have great stock features? Yes. This one particularly has ABS. It has the cruise control. And all the Chiefs have cruise control, even the non-Dark Horse with the ride command systems. They have cruise control and everything. This one does have power modes on it. I forgot to mention that. What's really cool too is if you start putting in accessories like the heated grips on this thing, the ride command starts to acknowledge that they exist. So if you press the menu button, you can have tour, standard, sport, auto brightness, all that fun stuff. But you'll notice the heated grip level is right there as well, and you can control those through there along with the button that is added on whenever you put the accessory on. So the FTR really, to me, was a motorcycle that was very good out of the box. One I didn't really need to mess with. I liked the sound of the exhaust. I liked the way it looked. I liked the way it rode. To me, it was perfect. If I needed luggage, I'd just throw a backpack on. But as I've gotten older, I don't like the backpack as much anymore. I'd rather my back be free. I'd rather have all the motion and control that I can do. So that's why I added the bags. But that's the thing. I didn't have to. I didn't feel like I had to. I wanted to add the bags, and I wanted to add the rally bar after our time too. After I'd taken the FTR on a couple of longer tours, there was a 4.5 hour, 5 hour day on saddle where I had to fill up a lot with fuel, and a guy on a Valkyrie and a guy on a GSA 1250 was not happy with me needing fuel all the time, so I felt like the Sportster rider that's always needing gas on a FTR. So at that point in time, I liked the rally bar. I liked the upright position that it gave me. You know, it was a very nice ride, and that's where I started getting that. When I got the V85 TT, the handlebars, everything was already in the same spots, nice and wide, nice and tall. So I had that same riding posture straight out of the box with that one, and that one that one was perfect out of the box too, because I got the adventure model. So 2 panniers, a top trunk, cruise control, the windshield's actually okay on it, so everything's good. Didn't really need to add anything to it, but I started to add stuff to it. I added my own creature comforts to that one, and the only things I've added is a center stand and heated grips. So, you know, that's just creature comfort stuff, and I wish the center stand would have been on there in the first place, because I think every motorcycle that is like that should have one. So, you know, there's one loss there, but for the most part, it didn't bother me until I just wanted it, and went ahead and put it on there and all that. But this one definitely, to make it to the rider it is today, I had to go through and mess with it and change it up and turn it into something that I envisioned. But it's kind of nice that I'm able to put it together in the way that I want to put it together. It's nice to have a motorcycle that is a blank canvas at that point, that I can start putting the things on there to make it look like a certain way, and definitely enjoy the look of it, definitely enjoy the feel of it. You know, the handling has not been compromised anyway with the taller bars. Even in lock to lock, you know, it's already got kind of a thin lock to lock anyway, but it will do the U-turn area and an MSF course just fine. And it does the small U-turn area, the 20x60. You don't have to do the 24x80. You can do the 20x60 just fine with it, even with the configuration it's in right now. So it's a very well balanced motorcycle. You know, it's one of those things where the chassis engineers at Polaris do fantastic jobs putting these things together. So I'm always impressed by the way the chassis feels, and this one especially, because it is one that you know, it's a steel tube chassis, and these you can literally have, you know, the problem like the Dyna did where it wallows, and you can definitely feel that it's not planted, and it feels a little off in turns and stuff, whereas this one feels amazingly tight, put together, low down center of gravity, so it's not as top heavy as the Dyna either. It gets into the corners, it scrapes the pegs very quickly because you're very confident on it straight out of the box. And in the first 1,000 miles, I've got that peg on the right side about 3/4 of the way down to the rubber, and the left side is about half because we don't have as many left turns in Oklahoma to saw them down on. As you have noticed in almost all my videos, we unfortunately have about the flattest, straightest roads you can have. Another thing that I think is kind of neat about having the floating seat that nobody's going to mention that probably notices, but the heat dissipation is so much better on the floating seat because you're sitting up and away from the engine, and there's no spot for the heat to just build into, because you know the seat pans go around and in, so heat can get up in there and kind of cook you a little bit. You can feel it through the seat, whereas this one, it just flows right away. So even when you're sitting at a stop like that, it flows away because it has no place to get caught. And that became a high selling point after a few rides, because I mean, this is the first day we've been under 100 in a week or so, and we've been cooking. I think it was Friday that this thing's thermometer didn't drop 100 or from 112 degrees all evening ride long. It was awful, but it's cool that is something that kind of comes with it too, because that goes a long way to rider comfort if you're able to shed heat. And the 1920 floating saddle sheds the heat, and that helps out in a long-term ride. So yes, is it hard? Absolutely, but there's a benefit still. And you know, it's one of those things you wouldn't think about until you actually experience, and then you go, oh hey, that's a good point. So pretty cool on that. Another thing that I want to mention is that despite the fact that this has a single front disc and a single rear, it does brake very nicely. And also we know that the Thunderstroke has always had fantastic engine braking or compression braking ability. So downshifting this thing and everything, it will get itself down nicely. Another thing that Indian has added now is slipper clutches. So now that they have slipper clutches, it is even crisper on the downshifts than it ever has been before. So there's nice things being added into these motorcycles all the time. And that's one thing I have to say, you know, when you look at Harley Davidson versus Indian, right now, sure, is Harley winning? Yeah, yes, because they have a name, they have a brand, and they have a cult-like following that doesn't make sense. But Indian is coming, and they're coming because they listen. They've made multiple different changes to their motorcycles year after year. They make changes, kind of like the time of day. Anywho, and the battery, of course. One of those wonderful things about being on a motorcycle and everything, you just kind of don't know how long that battery's going to last, and GoPros have either they'll last forever or they'll last 5 minutes. Which one do you want? And then you end up with the 5-minute one. Anywho, when it comes to changing, the Chief went from a motorcycle based on the monoshock touring chassis to the steel tube chassis twin rear exposed shocks. And they stuffed in the big engine. Like I said, they did everything that people at Harley were clamoring for Harley to do. You know, make a dyno, make an appropriate dyno, make that particular motorcycle and the bare bones raw cruiser. And when Harley built the new Softail platform, it left many people feeling a little alienated, is the best way to say it. And, you know, one thing is Indian listened, and Polaris built this machine in response to that, going from the larger chassis and filling in a void that did exist between the Scout and a touring size motorcycle, because the other Chief was definitely way heavier and was not anywhere near this class. So they listened to that one. Another thing too is the LED lights all the way around. You can see that this light at night is very adequate in what you can see, but then you turn on the main beam and oh my goodness gracious, you have as much headlight as you possibly want. With the standard headlight, you have probably about 6 seconds or so. You turn on the main light and you have a good solid 12 seconds, but I also have so much more light. And putting those together with the main beam is a fantastic combination that definitely is the best visibility out of any motorcycle that I have, with maybe the exception of my V85 TT's stock lighting being very good as well. This one gives me an incredible field of view, especially in an area like this where there are deer and wildlife and other things that pop out of nowhere. But like I said, Indian started with freight train headlights the size of, you know, a small plate basically, and moved on to the smaller, more pointed headlight, the LED style, and then of course LED all the way around. The only one now non-all LED lights is the Scout. That's still something you have to purchase separately, but everything else has moved to the all LED lighting, and they've been slowly but surely building up different things because they indeed listen. And that is something you just don't see out of other manufacturers. I mean, Honda's one that listens too. You have a couple of years there where the Rebel 300, 500 came out, and they were a little bit wonky with the suspension, and the seat was a little bit off. You know, we were a little bit heavier of a people than what the manufacturer was anticipating, but they listened. Once again, they listened, and they changed the suspension and everything only after a couple of years to match what was being said. And you don't see that out of very many things. The same thing with Moto Guzzi. They released the V85, you know, in 2019, and by 21 they already hardened the internals of the engine. They switched to the tubeless spoke wheels, so they had tubeless radials on board, and that way it gives you more options of tire and everything. And you know, it's just it's refreshing that people are listening. And I feel that that is one thing Polaris definitely does, is they do listen to their customers, they listen to their dealers, they listen to their people, whereas the other company, and we already know it's Harley, simply doesn't listen to anybody but themselves. They don't listen to their customer, they don't listen to, you know, what everybody's saying around them. They literally are selling less and less motorcycles, and right now
it's working for them because they somehow pass themselves off as a premium motorcycle when they are just an appliance. They are literally built on an assembly line. They're not in any way, shape, or form premium. Premium is hand-built. Premium is MV Agusta. Premium is Moto Guzzi, who stops at 7,000 motorcycles a year. Premium is people who actually, you know, take time to build a quality motorcycle, and Harley is just an assembly-lined vehicle. And in no way, shape, or form is it premium. Not even close. Sure, they've got great paint. Sure, they've got the name, but why claim to be a premium brand when you're not? Ducati's premium compared to that. You know, there's so many other places and people that are truly premium that claim to be. And Harley just ain't one of them. If they were truly premium, then it would be hand-built and somebody would sign it every time they completed a motorcycle. Or if they were truly premium, then there would be no shareholders. There would be no, you know, people pulling the strings everywhere else. It would be freaking like MV Agusta. Like I said, that's a very good motorcycle brand to claim premium, because they are literally building what they want, and it's art, and it's beautiful, and they don't care. They don't have anybody else to answer to. They just do it, and that's just it. That's how it's supposed to be if you claim premium. Exclusivity. And I'm sorry, everybody has a Harley Davidson. Me too. Black Street Glide, Black Ultra Glide, Black Road Glide. Everybody's got a freaking black whatever glide. It doesn't matter. That's not premium. Not premium when everybody goes, me too. Just like the CVOs. They're not premium. They're just cheap vehicles with options. And that's the sad reality. That's what bothers me about why people ignore other brands to go with Harley Davidson, when in reality they are not what they claim to be. And yes, they are making money right now, but they have sold less and less motorcycles every year. And right now the strategy of the newest CEO is to literally put them in that premium spot and claim that they're premium and start charging premium prices, and it's working because of a cult. And it's stupid. People need to get out of the cult. People need to come put their butts on a good motorcycle. They need to go out and try a Honda, or try a Triumph, or try an Indian, or try somebody different, and find out what riding is really about. It's about the visceral experience. It's about the freedom. It's about the passion. And I'm sorry to say this, but that is not captured by a faux premium brand like Harley Davidson. It is captured by people who are looking to win. It is captured by people who are looking to make their industry better. And I see that in Polaris. I see that in Indian. I see that whenever we say we need this fixed, they fix it. This doesn't look right. You know, the whole line looked almost the same at first, but now there's differences. Not all of them have freight train lights. They still have the Springfield for the old classic look, and they still have the Dark Horse version for the modern in the Springfield, and so on and so forth. There is a difference out there for a reason. And they continue to build better and better, just like adding this particular Chief into the line. It was called for from another manufacturer, and it was answered by Indian. And if you guys are seriously looking for the bare bones brawler, bar hopping, whatever you want to call it, bobber, then this is the machine for you. Period. Sure, I would like it to change a little bit more. Sure, I would like a different seat. Sure, I'd like a little bit different things here and there. But it's still a fantastic motorcycle to ride. And you still get the Sport Chief beyond this one that has the little fairing. I don't like the look of that look. I wish that India wouldn't have copied that look, but that's the way everybody is right now. They want to look like that for some deranged reason. Thank you, Sons of Anarchy, for that awful look. But you still get a neat little trick to it because they've changed out the suspension even better. They have the upside down fork on the Sport Chief. They have the Fox suspension on the back with 4 inches of travel, so even more suspension travel. They have a little bit more cushioned seat that's a little bit different. It's more like the gunfighter style. It's a different, little bit better, and I think that's what the stock every Chief should have. And maybe a little taller even than that, but that's it. There's some nitpicks, but there's enough of an aftermarket, there's enough of a following, there's enough people out there that allow you to build what you want out of the blank canvas that you start with. And like I said, that's not a bad thing necessarily if you're willing to put up the money. At any rate, this is the Rabid Hedgehog. Once again, I want to thank my sponsors, AGVSportUSA, for the gear, such as my Flannel 130 James color, my Mayhem gloves, the Metro jeans that are built for riders by riders, and also Law Tigers of Oklahoma. Right now they're riding with us, but in the event that something happens, they will fight for us. And Doug Crawford with USA Synthetics and AMSOIL providing the internal protection and wear protection on our motorcycles. We thank you guys once again for keeping this channel rolling. At any rate, keep that shiny side up, folks, and we'll catch you on the next ride.